is Seven Seas Cruising Association Boaters Advocacy Rights presentation. It's a consortium of many different boating groups, including AGLCA, DeFever Cruisers, MTOA, and SSCA. Thanks to our sponsor, Nauticad, who's made it possible for us to be able to be online and streaming. SSCA members get a trial of courses, and it's an excellent material online webinar series. I'd like to introduce Jerry Paul. Panelist Jerry Paul has been a cruiser most of his life. He lives aboard a trawler. You can see it behind him. He holds a 100-ton master license. He's an attorney and former member of the Florida legislature, a consultant with years of experience in Florida government. He's passionate about boating. He knows our environment. He's worked to provide boater rights for many years. He's currently with Capital Access in Tallahassee, Florida. We will also have a presentation or discussion by President of SSCA, Kingsley Ross. And I'd like to introduce Kim Russo. Kim has been director of America's Great Loop Cruisers Association, AGLCA, for 5 years. She's a frequent speaker about the Great Loop at the largest boat shows in the United States, including Chicago, Miami, St. Pete, San Francisco, New England, Cruisers University, and Trawler Fest. In addition to managing the 7,000 members and sponsors of AGLCA, Kim's role includes advocacy efforts on behalf of our members to ensure waterways remain open and cruiser friendly. Kim has also served as the executive director of the SSCA and treasurer of the SSCA Foundation. I would like to turn this over now to Jerry, and I'll stop the share. And Jerry, would you like to tell us about your program, what you can do for advocacy and to help us?
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. It's truly a pleasure and an honor to be with you this evening. You know, this event tonight actually demonstrates one of the reasons why we have had success through the collective efforts of the members of these wonderful organizations. America's Great Loop Cruising Association, Seven Seas Cruising Association, the Marine Trawler Owners Association, and of course the DeFever Users Group. It's because the active members, the ones who are listening tonight, the ones who take the time to listen and to dial in and to figure out what they can do to preserve our freedom on the water. It's the reason, it's the way that we have been able to preserve these freedoms and these rights year after year here in Florida, here in the capital city of Tallahassee. I can tell you that the importance of engaging, the importance of this grassroots organization through events like tonight and supporting these efforts is as crucial now as it's ever been. You know, Florida has 400 years of maritime heritage where men and women on vessels can anchor offshore or in their intercoastal waterways, quite frankly, long before anybody else was in the peninsular state. And just as the history of America started with the pace setters sailing and cruising and anchoring in Florida, so too today. What happens in Florida becomes a roadmap of policy for what happens in all other coastal states. We in Florida, like in other states, have experienced demographic changes, however, and as the population changes, fewer and fewer people who have moved here have necessarily that deep and rich maritime vein running through them. And so oftentimes they come to Tallahassee and they try to limit, restrict, even ban the anchoring of our vessels. Much of it is based upon, I would say, a misunderstanding about the cruising lifestyle, but it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of resources to constantly make the case, to constantly meet with and speak with the host of legislators who vote on these bills in the Capitol that can spell the difference between our ability to enjoy this lifestyle, to be able to anchor offshore, to be close to nature and close to the water, versus having all of our anchorages banned. We've made tremendous progress over the years. This is my 30th legislative session in Tallahassee. It's my 6th or 7th one representing this host of organizations. At the time that, going back to my time when I served in the legislature, we would see efforts from time to time of communities coming forward and wanting to ban anchoring, but not nearly as much, in part because they had the authority on the local level to ban anchoring on their own. As they did that more and more, it created a patchwork of restrictions and even outright bans. As boaters moved through jurisdictions on the water, it became very difficult to decipher those different laws. A few years ago, one of the things that we accomplished, the 4 organizations that organized this event tonight through their lobbying efforts, was to accomplish preemption, meaning that all regulations related to anchoring and mooring are preempted to the state level so that local governments could no longer create that messy patchwork. That was a huge success for us, but the fight continues. Each and every year, there are local governments who get their legislators, their member of the House or their member of the Senate or both, to come to Tallahassee during our annual legislative session and file bills to change the law statewide, carving out specific listed anchorage areas where they want to ban our vessels from anchoring. We fight against those every day, all day, 365 days a year. We're only able to do that. We're only able to leverage our political capital, our contacts, our access, if you will, if the resources are there to wage our continuous campaign. Tonight's a wonderful opportunity to talk a little more detail about some of the policy initiatives that are about to take center stage during the upcoming legislative session here in Florida. And hopefully we'll be able to, again, build and rebuild our host of supporters who will help us continue to be able to defend our freedom on the water.